Greetings, minions of the sinister. This is Dawn of the Dead from Nunslaughter, and you're listening to Under Attack.
This is Elle, you're listening to Under Attack, and we have Dawn of the Dead of Nunslaughter. How do you feel like your music has progressed over the last 30 years? Do you feel like it's evolved to a certain degree, or you're keeping it as true to your original sound?
Trying to keep it as true, and some bands, they like to progress. They learn to play their instruments better. They learn to craft songs, but there's bands, and I don't want to put Nunslaughter necessarily in the same category as, say, like a Motorhead or the
right.
Misfits or even AC/DC, because they're consistent,
right?
And I think that's a lot of what Nunslaughter is consistent, where you could, and although the players have changed roles. I started off, I was a bass player when we first started, and then when the singer decided he didn't want to sing anymore, I didn't have anybody else, so I said, well, I'll sing, and
right.
ended up, I wrecked my motorcycle, broke a couple fingers, and it was like, well, I guess I'm the singer now, so I got to get a bass player. And I mean, I know that it has changed. Actually, I think we've gotten better, but in the same realm, without changing a lot of the core values that when we started death metal, that's what we wanted to hear, and we're just, trying to continue that, 30-some years later.
Yeah. And what influenced you guys? Like, what began that notion of wanting to be this type of band or be this type of death metal sound?
Like probably a lot of people my same age, Death, Mantis, Possessed,
yeah.
Early Bathory, early Morbid Angel, Slaughter from Canada, even like Repulsion.
Those are all great bands.
Those are bands that, like, I remember hearing that, and I thought, I would like to participate in this kind of nonsense. And so
I want to cut a deer's head and have some pus that I can vomit to on stage.
But those, and I remember I was fortunate. I met Chuck.
Rest in peace.
Yes, and I told him, like, I was like, your music meant that much to me, and I was fortunate enough I've talked to Cam Lee as well, and I let him know how much it meant, and same with Jeff Becerra over the years. And,
I just met him.
Yeah.
So amazing.
And I've been fortunate enough to let the people that meant a lot to me. And actually, we played a show with Venom, and I didn't want to go over and talk to Cronus. Everybody's like, oh, he's right there, Don. And I'm like, I can't go say it. I don't want to say.
So you were
anything.
Fangirling a little bit.
Yeah, I was. Oh man, yeah. So I didn't go and say hi to Kronos, but I mean, he was just right there. He was at the pool, But yeah, I mean, Venom, anybody kind of listening to this genre was influenced by Venom.
Right.
But yeah, those are the people that mean a lot to me, or their music meant a lot to me.
So growing up in an era of the 80s, and obviously we didn't have the technology that we have. We didn't have social media. We didn't have Instagram or Facebook or MySpace. How do you feel that the difference was in a time where it was like tape trading or like list viewings?
Well, I did a tremendous amount of tape trading, and it's interesting that I can still remember people that I used to trade with, and a lot of times it was fortunate whenever you got to meet the person, meet them face to face, so you got to know what kind of tape trader they were, what kind of trader they would turn out, if they were sending like shitty tapes or their high bias tapes and things like that. When in the 90s, kind of like when tapes were fading away and people started trading digital files, MP3 files.
Right.
And
before Napster got shut down.
Right. And I know people were upset, but I thought it was a great thing. It was an easy way to disseminate your music and hear other things. And if you wanted it, it doesn't say you couldn't go and buy it yourself, but it was a much quicker way to tape trade or file trade. And actually, I think it's great. I mean, I don't really have anything bad to say. I mean, I like the analog medium, and I like having physical copies of things.
Right.
But I think that if you can go online and I can listen to a band from Russia or Turkey,
Right.
Or the Ukraine that I would never have the chance to hear because I don't know anybody from the Ukraine to trade with. But they can send me things, and I can listen to bands from that part of the world. I think it's good. It brings us all as a better metal community.
Is that how you came about with the Witch Trap and Nunslaughter split?
Well, actually, we Nunslaughter recorded that down in South America, and
so that's why it was in Spanish.
right, Altar de la Muerte, and so we were playing a show with Witch Trap, and I was actually a fan of Witch Trap, and so we were talking, and we ended up having some time while we were in Colombia, and so we rented a studio and went in and wrote a new song and redid Altar of the Dead, and it was one of those things. Like we met each other and we're like, well, we should do this. You know, they're also on Hell's Headbangers, and so it was just kind of, it just kind of came to. I guess it was just fortuitous that we got together and put it out. Yeah.
And I mean, we were listening to some stuff earlier, but how was that? Because we were like looking up Witch Trap because we're like, wait, it's in Spanish. Where are they from? And then we saw that they were from Medellin. And so how was that? Because it was like the height of the Pablo Escobar, and like it was like the decline of his empire, and that's where they were from, Medellin.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, we were treated fantastic. Unfortunately, like we started off, the tour was going to be, it was 7 shows, then 6, then by the time the plane landed we had 4 shows, and by the end of I think we were there for 10 or 12 days, we actually only did 2 shows. Now what happened?
So you guys ended up on vacation mostly?
We pretty much ended up on vacation. No, I was bummed because I wanted to play more shows and meet more people, but that's what enabled us to have the studio time. But the promoter, they actually took us way into the mountains, where I guess it used to be like a kind of like a drug lord held community.
Right.
That the state seized the very large homes and estates, so they put us up in this beautiful estate. I mean, it was a huge field. There were people that worked on the land, and they were. They made breakfast and they brought us food.
It was
and everything.
Escobar's house.
It could have been, but we had like a pool. There was a slide,
definitely
and it was
Escobar's property.
It was awesome. But we were like so far removed that when we were walking through the town, I mean, we stood out like we were 4 light bulbs. I mean, everybody, some of the kids that were getting out of school at the time, it looked like they never even saw like a white person,
right.
We got treated fantastic. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really hope to go back. What a beautiful country.
Yes.
It's a shame that they have to fight off the stigma of, like growing up. For me, I mean, I remember, in the 80s, it was like, what are you, crazy going to Colombia?
Right.
It's dangerous, but we had a fantastic time. I hope we get to go back, because we had fantastic people, excellent food, beautiful country. Yeah,
well, hopefully you guys keep coming back, keep doing tours, and
I hope so too.
Keep going and traveling all these places all over the world. Come back with more crazy stories. So are you guys having more shows or anything coming up?
No, we're not. I like cats.
And Harleys.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just asking if you had more tours. More shows.
We're actually, I think this year we're going to do some of the most shows that we've ever done in one year. Unfortunate, there's a show in Atlanta, Georgia, Mass Destruction Festival, and Sai from Japan is coming over, and my longtime friends Deceased are also playing.
And this is all in the summer?
That is actually that's going to be in November.
Oh, at the end of the year.
Yeah, I believe it's in November. But we're doing playing a show in May in Chicago with Blood from Germany, some longtime old friends.
You said you used to pen pal with them?
You should actually write letters.
The old-fashioned way.
And we had great conversation in the Netherlands, and they're one of those bands that I was just like, how is this band not much more popular? But they're kind of gaining that notability or notoriety back.
Do you think technology has something to do with that?
Maybe
their access to music?
I think they're having a lot of their older material re-released,
awesome.
and I think that they're also doing another push. They're doing more shows, maybe a little more outside of just Germany, and one fest a year or something like that. And I'd love to be able to see more bands do that. Another band that I would absolutely love to see, we did a split with them, Agathocles from Belgium, is another band. They never really did much in the United States. I think maybe they played once. I'm not sure. I think they did play one time in the United States. But I mean, I used to write Jan back in the 80s and bought Catabolic Gnosticism demo from him. So that's how far I go back with some of the bands, and then it's great when you get to meet them and realize how much you have in common,
right.
Even though you're separated by many different countries or a continent away, and
the facts of life.
Yeah, the facts of life, and then so and then we'll have we do have a tour in this year, going to Czech Republic, Germany, Poland, Italy, Slovakia, Slovenia.
A lot of Eastern European countries.
Yeah, and it's been years since we've been. We did Slovakia, Slovenia, Hungary, and Poland.
Did you actually play, or was it vacation?
We actually played these shows, yeah. And it was really fantastic shows, and unfortunately we're not able to get back to Hungary this year. But the countryside's beautiful, and Poland especially. But small story. So I grew up. I was told I was half Polish. Like my mom is always like, I'm 100% Polish. So I was half Polish. I said, okay, this is great. So I get to Poland, and I'm talking to a fella, a Polak, and he goes, oh, you're Polish. Oh yeah, I grew up eating pierogies and all kind. Yeah, I'm Polish. And he goes, what's your mom's maiden name? And I said, Kuzhe. And he goes, you're not Polish. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're probably maybe Russian or Hungarian, but you're not Polish. So I came back home after the tour's over, and I came back home, and I was talking to my mom. I said, Mom, I talked to this Polak. He said, we might not be Polish, we might be Hungarian. And she says, yeah, I know. So I was like 35 years old, thinking I was
living
a Polak.
Living a lie.
But I'm Hungarian. But I guess, all the borders all changed and, it fluctuated. But yeah, the guy was like, no, that's because I guess, according to this fella, he said Kuzhe is in Russian, it means to eat or to chew.
Okay.
So he's like, you're probably Hungarian.
So you thought you were breaking the news to her, and she actually broke
She
the
knew,
news
but
to
she didn't want to share that with me.
It was like the Easter Bunny.
But I remember as a kid, like my grandparents were like, God bless the Polish, and then, but now it's God bless the Hungarians, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you still get pierogies, so.
I still get pierogies, yeah, and halushki.
Oh,
good stuff.
So good, so good. All right, and then this is Elle here with Under Attack, and we have Dawn of the Dead from Nunslaughter, brought to you guys here at Breaks in Maywood. Thanks.
Thanks.